Sam, I think the point you make about questions versus answers is really the most important one there, that you can justify the humanities by the questions that they answer, but only because and if you think answers are possible. There's a kind of cliche that I've heard come out of different intro to philosophy classes, the way the different professors teach it, by saying, if you don't have more questions by the end of this semester than you had at the beginning, I've failed as a professor. And I'm in such profound disagreement with that view, because the point of having questions is to get answers, as you point out, Sam. And I think if we have fewer and fewer students signing up for these question classes, it might be because they think they're getting actual answers in the other fields. And that is the most honest motivation that students could have, that they're wasting their time just getting more confused, when in fact they could get knowledge from the STEM fields, for instance. I think people care about having knowledge. The best students do. They don't just want a fancy form of entertainment. And part of the reason for that is that they know that they need to answer these questions if they're to live their lives. These are questions that everybody has. They're especially questions that are important to a young person who's forging a path in life for the first time and needs to make something of themselves. They need to decide what career they're going to pursue. They need to decide for whom they are pursuing that career. Should they be an effective altruist who goes out and makes lots of money just so they can give it away? Should they be a Mother Teresa type? Or should they pursue something that actually makes them happy because they enjoy that activity and it enriches their lives? That itself is a big philosophical question that they need the answer to. College is usually the time when they are trying to answer these questions, and humanities courses should help them answer these questions. When they don't have answers to these questions, or when the answers they get are the default answers that are popular in academia, like woke egalitarianism, we see the results. We see generations of people who are listless, have no real purpose, who then join a tribe for protection and are, moved to the point of protesting on behalf of Hamas. So these are desperately crucial and important questions. They're not getting answers. And a good humanities education isn't just going to preach answers to them. It shouldn't just preach answers to them, but it should at least start to give them the tools for figuring out how they can get these answers for themselves. And when I was a university professor, I would approach it from the perspective of, what do students need to gain what I thought of as philosophical self-esteem? They need to be comfortable asking big questions, questions that challenge many of their basic premises, questions that many other people are maybe afraid to even ask. But then they need to understand, at least in principle, how these questions could be answered. That involves showing how philosophy and science and the STEM fields, for instance, are not these big rival fields, that there are overlaps between them, that there are actual scientific methodologies that you can use to try to answer philosophic questions, that philosophical questions relate to the data of our observation that we can get from everyday life, and that there's just a question then of learning how to conceptualize it in a scientific way. And so these are methodologies, unfortunately, that are ignored by far too many scholars in the humanities, and too many of them have antipathy to science and see science as intimidating and threatening, and don't want to try to make their own field scientific in its own way. But I don't think they should be intimidated like that, and stop being defensive in the sense of thinking, no, we have a inferiority complex and we need to try to make up for that.